Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Ciel DeGuglielmo. My guest on the podcast today is Stacey Harmon. She is the founder of Harmon Enterprises and is a productivity coach and top Evernote certified consultant who specializes in helping disorganized and unproductive people get their lives in order with Evernote. I have been a member of her academy and I've learned so much about Evernote through Stacey. Through her membership, guides, and training programs, she shows busy people how to take back control of their digital lives to give them the freedom, space, and time they crave. Thanks to her Evernote-based GTD practice, that's Getting Things Done by David Allen, she enjoys a paperless laptop lifestyle, which often takes her far beyond her home base of Austin, Texas. I love watching Stacey on social media because I never know where she's going to be, and she still manages to have everything she needs with her because of Evernote. It was so fun for me to talk with her and learn more about how she's using Evernote. I learned a few things about Evernote. And even if Evernote is not your thing, she talks about digital organization. And I think you could learn a lot from Stacey. I really hope you enjoy hearing from her today. Stacey, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being my guest. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
I was saying before we started recording, I've been a member of your membership. I have a membership as well, but I'm so accustomed to seeing you in your space, in your home, that it just was very natural when the camera came on. Only this time I get to talk to you one-on-one. It's not part of a group situation. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So for my guests who are unfamiliar, you are an Evernote certified consultant. Can you tell people first what is Evernote? Although I've spoken about it more than a few times, people should know, but then why you became a consultant.
Sure. So first of all, it's an app, productivity app in essence, that their tagline on their website is remember everything. And then they also say, and tackle any project with your notes, tasks, and schedule all in one place. So it really is known initially as a note-taking application.
Right.
But the reason I have a job is because it can be so much more. I use it as so much more. So, and it's a couple of key details that are important to people who are considering Evernote is it's cross-platform. It works with Mac and Windows. It works with Android and iOS. So you have a lot of fluidity. Everything syncs together, works on the web, obviously. And so you have access from anywhere, no matter what your device. It's a key differentiator and a reason that people choose it, especially those who are, maybe at a client location or in their office or at home. So I really rely on that particular element a lot.
Right. And as I said, I've used it quite a bit in my business. So I've spoken about it. And for a while, I was an Evernote consultant and realized it was more than I was spreading myself a little bit too thin.
Yeah, it's a deep app. It's so much deeper than many people know.
And there's so much to do in it. And there's so many times when people are asking, I'm like, I'd love an app where I could do that. I'm like, Evernote does that. Evernote does that. Evernote does that. So you make the distinction on your website. You are not an Evernote employee. I'm a
fanatic. I'm an Evernote nerd and, fanatic. And
lucky for us.
Evernote's part of my story. When I first found Evernote, I was like, wow, this is really cool, right? And this is helping me to change how I work. Like it allowed me to not be dependent on my location. That was a key factor for me. I could work and access my entire life from my cell phone if I needed. And I really loved that. And I was training real estate agents at the time on technology tools. And as I started to become more and more passionate about Evernote and use it more and more in my life, I started to get more and more requests about how can this tool be used and why do you love it so much? And why is there so much buzz about it? I mean, when Evernote launched in 2008, it created the note-taking category. There was nothing like it out there. And it was the rock star application they launched with the Apple Store. I don't know if they were actually in the Apple Store. So, and they were.
No, I didn't realize that.
And I happened to be living in California at the time. And so I was so passionate about how cool it was and how the types of things it was doing for me. And I was excited about that. I just flew myself up to their user conference because they had one. They had them for 4 years, and I went to 3 or 4 of them, ultimately speaking at the final one. But I just had to get around other people that got it because a lot of people don't get it. They
Yeah.
think they hear people like me talk and they're like, Stacey, it sounds like it, but what am I missing? What am I missing with the app? And why are you so freakishly enthusiastic about it? Like I'm abnormally enthusiastic about it. And ultimately that led me to have, I applied for one of their early influencer program. They had an ambassador program and I applied for that because I was so fired up about it. Like I teach what I do. Like Evernote
Right.
changed my life. So I teach what I do. And I applied for that. They selected me. And then ultimately I've been associated with Evernote ever since then in an unofficial capacity. So I've just been somebody who's a passionate advocate, an enthusiast for Evernote
Mhm.
because of what it did for me. And over time, that became my job because I was so eager and could see the transformation that people had doing the things that I was teaching, which went beyond the surface level of what Evernote can do.
And it's so fascinating to me because I had started using Evernote because of a colleague of mine. I mentioned her earlier. Her name is Elke Horn, and the easy workflow that she had created using Evernote, and I hired a local Evernote consultant to speak with our WCAA group. That's the Window Coverings Association, and there were some connectivity problems and a few other issues on the day that he was presenting to us. And it just was less than satisfying to me. And I was feeling, like you said, like I was so fired up about this and I knew there was more to it. And so I started to dive into it. I became an Evernote certified consultant. And then at a certain point realized I could not do that well with everything else that I was doing. But I was still really passionate about what a great system it was for everything that I was doing. And it's one of those things, like when you talk to people who use it, they usually are pretty excited about it and think it's a really great tool. So I would love for you to tell us about how you told us how you got started, but like for someone who's new, how would you explain how you're using Evernote? Like, why, as a business person who runs a drapery workroom, would I want to use Evernote?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm self-employed, right? It's just me. I'm a solopreneur and I've had my business now for 14 years.
Okay.
And Evernote is my life dashboard. It's not only my business dashboard, that's possible, and a lot of what I help people to understand how they can use Evernote to support them in that role, but it's my life dashboard. I am able to manage both my personal to-dos, tasks, ideas, life,
Yeah.
travel, whatever it is, right alongside all of my business development and management needs. And I can do that in one location, central, that works so well with everything else. So it's the first place I go to. It's where I do all my project management. It's where I retain anything that has value in my life that I want to take action on now or potentially in the future. So
Right.
a lot of people come into Evernote using it as a digital filing cabinet. Right. It's a really common use case. So they'll take it, they store things in there because they can find and retrieve them, or they'll take notes. Those are common entry points. But I take that a step further and use it to actually organize those notes, manage projects, plan, support projects such as travel or client development work or business development work. There's just so many things. So I'm using it for absolutely everything. There's nothing that doesn't start with Evernote that I'm trying to track.
Right. And you and I were talking about this. I have all kinds of life things inside of Evernote as well. Christmas lists, shopping lists, what to pack before I go to a conference, all of that stuff is in there because, as you said, I can find it on any device. So I might be sitting at my computer and add something to a list. There is an app that I use on my computer, but I can also do it on the web. But then when I'm out shopping or, in my room trying to pack my suitcase, I've got my phone with me.
Well, was an aha for me that really supports why I love Evernote so much is like our business and personal lives, and everybody knows this at this point, but like I realized this 10 years ago, they were just such a blurry line.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have a tool that if I had an idea in the shower, I could, step out, pull my phone up and log it. And it could be business or personal, or vice versa, right? I'm in the middle of a, planning a presentation, and I have this idea about something that I need to tell the vet about my dog, right? It's like I need a place to, I don't want to have to switch platforms or tools to be able to manage that. And so Evernote's a very flexible tool. I really loved that. It can accommodate any workflow. You really literally can use Evernote as part of any workflow organization that you want. It's just a matter of designing it to support that.
And to support your style. And that was one of the things I did a couple of presentations on Evernote. One of the things I said, one of the best things about Evernote is it works for you. One of the worst things about Evernote is you have to make it work for you.
That's right. It's a blank slate.
Whatever your style is, you can make it work for it. I felt like the search function was one of the best things because I have a mind that thinks it's very organized. And then I'll look back at some of my notebooks and I'll be like, I worded it 3 different ways and I have 3 different notebooks. But the fact of the matter is, I could still find things, even though I had created different notebooks. When I found them, I would go back and consolidate them. But it really does work with however your brain works. And I think that's a huge thing.
I've heard it described as, and I love this description, is that Evernote does messy really well. So one of the things is that Evernote's flexible and can be designed for, any workflow. But you don't have to be organized in Evernote to have success with it, because if you capture and centralize it in Evernote, you can find it in Evernote, because to your point, search is one of the most powerful features of Evernote. It's built upon the ability to search. Anything you put into Evernote is indexed, even if it's inside of a document, even if it's your handwriting, even if it's your typed notes, even if it's your images, anything you put in Evernote gets indexed. So if it's indexed, you can search upon it. And it's always been a market leader in that regard. And even now they continue to iterate and evolve on that in ways that are keeping it at the forefront of this search and find.
One of the things that I have found to be really great about Evernote was the consistent upgrades and changes that most of which don't make it more difficult to use. They make it easier to use. There's always a little bit of, okay, how do I use this now? But it never felt like it was a whole new system. There were a lot of little upgrades, but then there have been some big ones. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. We've kind of touched on a little bit of how Evernote works, and notes and notebooks are the primary setup for Evernote. How do you usually recommend to people that they set those up?
So, everybody needs to understand that notes are the basic unit of Evernote. Okay. So that's the individual unit of Evernote, and notes have a lot of properties and things that you can do with them, right? You can certainly type in the notes and apply a lot of elements in the note editor, et cetera. That's the foundation. And then from there, you have the ability to, in essence, they call it, people describe it as organizing your notes, right? And you have choices about that. And there's really 2 camps. You're either a notebooks organizer or a tags organizer.
Right.
There's very heated opinions on both sides of this. I will tell you.
For the Evernote nerds among us.
But I am adamant that a notebooks-based approach to organizing Evernote is the right way to go. The reason is rooted in what you described, Seal, that Evernote search is so powerful. And in essence, if you put anything in a note, every single word that's in that note and every single element that's inside of an image or a document that you store in a note is indexed and is in essence a tag. So you can find it if it's in there. So it's like everything that's in a note is already a tag. Why do you need to go in and re-tag it? And to your point too, about those notebooks that you're micro naming different ways, people will say, is it a recipe or is it recipes? And they have this problem, and tags fail if you don't have the exact nomenclature set, and people typically don't plan it. So I am not a fan of that work. It's just too much work is what I think. It's too much work. I'm trying to make it easy. Let's put the data in there. Let's let Evernote index the whole thing and consider everything a keyword. If I put that word in, I'm going to be able to find it.
Right.
But there is this human brain element that benefits from being able to see things in containers. And containers in Evernote are a notebook. And so I can create a container in the form of a notebook around a project. And I highly advocate project-based notebook organization in Evernote. It's the easiest way to go. I find people are in kind of two camps with notebooks. The bulk of people who are newer to Evernote are scared to create notebooks. They feel like they're going to create too many. Yeah. I want to alleviate that. Create a notebook for each project. You can have up to 1,000 notebooks. I've been using Evernote for 14 years. I have about 450 notebooks, so I've never hit the limit. There's lots of strategies for managing your notebook count as you get more fluid with it. But for now, take a guess, because notebooks are super easy to rename, reorganize, all that kind of stuff. It's better to do something and put a notebook out there per project. In the case of your listeners, that's probably a job, right? A particular client job. And I would advocate I like naming conventions. It's a really important way
I do too.
To organize your account. It's a very underappreciated way to create organization in your account. So all your client notebook, I would start with a nomenclature, in essence, a tag in the notebook name. So client : Stacey Harmon, client : Jane Smith, or the address or the project name or whatever it is or the invoice number, whatever it is you use to do that. But that will sort all of those notebooks together. And you can use more advanced items like stacks, which a lot of people don't know about because they're not in the interface unless you know to create them.
Right.
But essence, you can group notebooks together in a stack, which is kind of like a filing cabinet drawer for your manila folders, with the offline analogy. So I'm in the notebooks camp. I suggest create a notebook. They're you don't have to do it right. It's very flexible. You can evolve it.
Yeah.
And it's very rare that people go to the other extreme, which is I've just created way too many notebooks. And I can just, there's no right or wrong for when you should create a notebook. I have notebooks that have a single note in them because of the importance that holds to me. I have other notebooks that have 1,000 notes in them. So it really, there's no right or wrong. It's very specific to the particular outcome that you're after and the need that data has in your account.
Okay. And you and I were very much in agreement with that. When I started with Evernote, I started creating tags. And then at a certain point, as you said, I would find like recipe and recipes. And then I'd find Christmas sewing, and then I'd sewing for Christmas. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And the notebooks, I do have stacks. And when I created them for my clients, I was very specific about the naming rules. And it was always I work with interior designers. So it was the interior designer's last name, the client's last name, and the room for each notebook.
That's a great
then
one.
I could have pages, and I could have photographs. I could have measurements. I could have, the invoice, the estimate, copies of the checks that had been deposited. Any part of the job that was important, I could keep within the notebook. And when I was looking up at a higher level, I could see the stacks of each designer's notebook. So I could see everything all at once, or get all the way into the notebook. So tags were never I've never been a fan.
Okay. Well, let me clarify something too, though. I want everybody to understand that despite the fact that I advocate for a lot of reasons this notebook-based approach, I am not anti-tags. So I'd like to really clarify that. I am pro tags. They, in my opinion, are an advanced find feature. They are not an organizational feature. They are an advanced feature that you should use in certain workflows to find and retrieve specific sets of notes. And it's one of the things inside my academy that we talk about a lot is like, okay, what are the good use cases for tags? And there are some certain ones. Like, you don't want tags to balloon out of control. That's one of the downsides. Like, if people are listening and they're like, my tags have ballooned out of control, then you've tried to organize with tags. You're not using tags as a strategic way to pull select notes. So there are use cases where tags are very relevant, but it's not how I would predominantly organize your account.
Okay. It's funny. I often think about the filing cabinet visual. And when I was teaching classes, I would say what I love about Evernote is like you said sloppy. You could just throw notes into a filing cabinet, just open and say, hand me the Smith file, and there it is. It's that fast. Mm-hmm. And again, for someone who is sometimes hyper organized and then not organized at all, it was really helpful to me.
Yeah.
So Evernote does integrate a lot of different tools and platforms. It works well with a lot of different things. So people who are already using some things can coordinate with it. A lot of my listeners are single person businesses, as you are, as I am. Are some of these tools necessary? Do we need to buy Evernote and then buy every one of the tools that it adapts with? How do you help the people in the Academy identify the best way to do this?
Well, it's a very individualized question to answer, but generally here's I'm going to give you a little history lesson with Evernote. When it first started back in 2008, it had an open API and it had the ability to integrate with tons of apps, right? And it's part of what fueled Evernote to be so popular, right? It worked really well with all these other apps. And it was strictly a note-taking and storage device.
Right.
Over time, they've evolved from this tagline of remember everything, where it's a place where we're storing all our stuff, to now remember everything, accomplish anything. And what we've seen is major compartments like task management, calendar management have now come into Evernote, into the device itself. So over time now, I'm using those tools. My Google Calendar is visible inside of Evernote.
Yes, that was such a game changer.
It's a huge game changer. And to be able to tie notes to individual meetings, we're prepping for this today. And I tied notes and my thoughts to the event that have scheduled for this recording. It's really transformative in a way that you don't understand until you experience it, right?
Right.
And I still use Google Calendar, and Evernote integrates with Google. They also integrate with Outlook, and they will in the upcoming months integrate with iCalendar. So
that's great.
So there's going to be this opportunity to have this synchronization between my Google events and my Evernote. And I can add a calendar event inside of Evernote and have it push out to Google, or I can add it in Google and it'll show up in Evernote. So it goes both ways. So that's really valuable. And so, yes, I do need my calendar and I need my email system. But I really think people need their suite of calendar, email, and contacts, and they can choose Microsoft or Google or Apple or whatever, their ecosystem is. And it'll talk to Evernote. So that's really powerful stuff. Now, task management's a different thing. I see a lot, we've discussed this a lot in the Academy. There's a lot of people like me. I use Evernote's Task Manager. So all of my tasks are managed inside of Evernote. Others find that they like to use an outside task manager because they're either very comfortable with it and it's kind of a legacy level thing, or there's a level of functionality that just they don't find usable inside of Evernote. So there's not a right or wrong answer to it. It's, what's your workflow, what's your end goal, what other tools are you integrating with? But you do have the ability. I have lots and lots of Academy members that have dropped their subscription to their task manager because Evernote offers tasks now. So it is possible to reduce them. I even have an Academy member. She got rid of a whole CRM because we structured Evernote in a way that she could track her projects and customers.
Right.
So it's possible. It's just a matter of how deeply you're going to go with the tool and really what you need it to accomplish.
Right. And it's interesting because initially when the calendars were not connected and Evernote introduced, not only could you create a note, but you could create a task and you could put a time and date with it and a reminder within Evernote, but it didn't connect to the calendar. And I had started using Google Tasks for a lot of things. And now I can go back to using Evernote again keeping it all in one place, because just like having a digital calendar and a handwritten calendar, at some point you're going to lose something. And having tasks in two different places was not working for me, but I felt like it just hadn't quite caught up. And every time I think that, they immediately catch up and do exactly what I'm looking to do in Evernote. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's actually one of the pitfalls that I hear people struggle with a lot. You mentioned it, as you said, your tasks are in two places potentially. Evernote really, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about it is it lets me centralize so much. So the
Yes.
fewer systems I have, the fewer places I have to look for things.
Yeah.
And Evernote allows to capture and store so much. And now I have these to-dos and these events and my knowledge all in one spot. It really is Evernote's original tagline, your second brain, right?
Yeah.
It really is that for me. So that's one of the things I advocate people do is that these apps like Evernote allow you to reduce the amount of tools and fragmentation you have on your data, which, I read one time there's some statistic like knowledge workers, like all us business owners, are spending like 20% of our week searching for stuff.
Oh gosh, that is really, that's frustrating.
It's painful. And that the more you're fragmented, the more you are at risk for that. So because part of my organizational perspective is centralize, centralize, centralize.
Yeah.
Evernote doesn't cap how much data you can keep in it. So there is a limit on how large an individual note can be, but you can break it's very rare that I ever hit that. And
Right.
Beyond that, there's so many integrations. Like I can link to a Google file and have, a direct link to that type of a thing.
Yeah.
But it's important to have as few tools as possible as part of my strategy and as part of my efficiency strategy.
Yes. I mentioned before we started to record that I had kept some organizational elements for my daughter's wedding in Evernote, but I didn't keep everything. And there was one day that I know I put this list together and I was very frustrated. And I was like, but you didn't put it in Evernote, Seal. And that's why you can't find it. And I was like, why I created it might have been in my notes file. I don't even remember, but I couldn't remember where it was. And it was that little reminder. But if you put it in Evernote, you can always find it. And that's why you can't find it right now.
Well, and like this is another hot tip that I teach people all the time and remind them of. And it's back to your earlier question about it integrates with so many things. Any cloud-based tool these days that you use is going to allow you to link to that data.
Yes.
So you can put that checklist or that data for your daughter's wedding that you needed over somewhere. Maybe it's on the photographer's website, right? Like maybe that's what
Right.
And if you grab that link and put it in Evernote, you can use Evernote as your home base to then go access that other information. And that's where it's really powerful. And that's the mindset shift that I try to help people identify and get comfortable with. Look, this is my dashboard. This is where, we have a whole discussion about should the source file live in Evernote or outside of Evernote? And the answer is it depends. It depends on the workflow. It depends on all kinds of stuff. And it can live either way. What's our end goal? What tool is more powerful? But in the end, regardless of what you choose, I want you to be able to access it from your dashboard, from your home base at Evernote. And this is the way to achieve that. So that's the mindset shift. Centralize, 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 and learn the options for how to do that. And Evernote offers you many.
They do. And one of the questions I sent you, we've kind of covered this a little bit, but I'm wondering if there's anything specific that comes to mind. That there are a lot of productivity tools out there. And I've tried many of them. Sometimes I try them just because I'm curious about them. Sometimes my sisters and I joke about, I found the hand cream that's going to change our lives, or I found the bra that's going to change our lives. And I always think there's going to be a productivity tool that's going to make me even more pulled together. I already have it. It's Evernote, but I'm always looking at other things.
I love this. I love where this question's going.
So what makes Evernote stand out? Why choose Evernote?
Okay. Well, I want to answer that in a slightly different way, and I'm happy to answer that directly. But
you go ahead.
This is what you're expressing that I hear all the time, and it's a productivity time suck. The productivity industry in general is users suffer from shiny object syndrome.
Yes, I do. I admit it.
And it's natural. We all do. We're all intrigued by it. But here's the thing. All tools have opportunities and constraints, even Evernote, right? There's no perfect tool. So the number one productivity tip I give people, regardless if they're going to choose Evernote or not, is pick and stick to an app. Pick and stick. Once you pick it, go deep with it. Okay. And they all have this power. They're all they all can do really remarkable things, but they all have constraints too. And those constraints influence how you organize and design your workflows in the tool. So that's the thing I help people do, is understand what are the features. Like when you understand that you have note links and all that you can do with note links, it just blows open the door of organization in your account.
Yes.
Right. So it's like I show them the nuances of that and how that can really impact. And as soon as you learn the skill, it changes how you think about things. Like you don't know what you don't know for organizing until you know it. Right.
Right.
So those are a lot of things that I talk about. And for people who choose Evernote, I always say, like, I'm your gal. Like if you choose Evernote, I'll take you deeper. But I'm not going to convince you to choose Evernote. You need to pick the tool that's going to work best for you and what you're trying to accomplish. So like I see that a lot. That's one part of it. Now, some reasons why Evernote is so powerful as a tool. Number one, it's longevity. Number two, it's size in the market. It's definitely a market leader. One of the things that really people really appreciate is its approachability. Okay. It's very easy to get onboarded and use. It does messy well. You don't have to be organized, right? If you take a tool like Notion, which again has a lot of opportunities and constraints, you have to be really, really structured and thought out with how you put everything in there, or it doesn't work for you, right? Evernote has the ability to create structure, but it can take it messy and just capture it and hold it and let you retrieve it. So that appeals to a lot of people. And then this indexing of everything and the sync across multiple platforms is another really key feature that attracts a lot of people. And then beyond that, productivity and note taking starts with capturing, right? It's the first step of David Allen's getting things done, his 5 steps of workflow, and it's prevalent in every productivity is you have to capture or collect, one of those types of things. And there's no other tool that has the diversity of frictionless capture that Evernote does. I mean, think the web clipper is still not parallel in any tool. What we can do from our mobile phones, just what they released with iOS 18 and the integration with some of the iOS 18 features and the customization about capture that we can do with shortcuts and the widgets, it's really powerful. So these kinds of things are advantages of using Evernote.
I want to jump in and take a moment to thank the sponsors who make it possible for me to bring you the podcast each week. My sponsors are people in the industry that I have personally had a connection to, purchased from, or used their services. So it makes it really easy for me to tell you about them and the great things that they have to offer. Because I feel so strongly about education in our industry, I'm thrilled that as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library, I can use the resources of the library to help support the podcast. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. Angels Linings would like to invite you to become part of their family. With reputable lining comes exceptional customer service. Trust them with your linings like I do. You get 2 Tootsie Pops with every bolt of lining you receive. For smiles, satisfaction, and a sugar kick all around, call Angels Linings at 1-800-450-9368. The Workroom Channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. If you've listened to the podcast, you know how much I've learned from Michelle Williams. And I think most of my guests have mentioned taking at least one of her classes or gotten coaching from her. Her business is Scarlet Thread Consulting. Michelle loves to work with creative business owners to help them understand all aspects of their business and to use their gifts and talents to make it profitable. Michelle is a strategic profitability coach certified in the Profit First methodology, and she can be reached at scarletthreadconsulting.com. I've also mentioned my membership with the WCAA, and I'm now a gold level sponsor, where education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to our members. The Window Covering Association of America is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. I've also been extremely fortunate to be able to work with Merrill Y. Landis Ltd. It's a family-owned and operated custom workroom and product distribution company to the trade with over 70 years of experience. And in addition to their custom work, they offer a wide variety of decorative drapery hardware. They offer stout and flare 21 fabrics. They have Roman shade operating systems and assembly kits. They have motorization and workroom supplies, and they serve both designers and workrooms. And you can check out the MYL Advantage at mylLTD.com. And I agree with all of them. I do suffer from shiny object syndrome.
Well,
I've
you're
been
not
very honest about that.
You're in good company. But it's, moving platforms can be so much more painful than actually learning how to work around the constraints of the platform you're in.
Right.
And Evernote's deep, so it's deceptively deep. I said it's approachable. I said it's approachable and easy, but it's so powerful and there's so much you can do with it. And a lot of people are intimidated by it, but you don't have to deploy those things to have success with Evernote, but they really do open up opportunities for you to manage all kinds of things.
And again, whether you work alone or work with someone, because you can share things, and that we talked about this ahead of time too. The people that I work with, I'm a solopreneur, but I do have people that help me with things. None of them are using Evernote.
Yes. So Evernote's actually really evolving this year. Yeah. Like Evernote used to be really good at this. And then for a couple of years, they took a hiatus when they evolved the platform. Now, under their current ownership, they're revitalizing the sharing process. And now what they recognize is that there's a big user base like you and me. They're self-employed. We don't have big teams, but we collaborate with others in our business, right? And I mean, just in October of this year, they've really revamped the sharing experience. And now we have the ability to share with non-Evernote users. And so much more is coming as a result of this one-click share innovation that they have recently deployed. It's powerful. Like, just to let you know, I used to have 2 hours of training on how to share with getting into the nuances with Evernote users and non-Evernote users. I just did a training this week that's 30 minutes teaching exactly the same thing.
How to do it.
So in terms of intuitiveness and ease of use and practicality, it's amazing. And it's really going to transform what we can do with business. I expect a lot more business use cases because of the ability to collaborate. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but they've launched real-time collaboration. So you can, if you're talking with other Evernote users, so there are times your assistant uses Evernote or you run across, you and I collaborate, for example. If they happen to use Evernote, there's some real great opportunities for having, mutual collaboration on documents, and that's only going to improve and potentially be expanded to non-users as well.
Okay. And Evernote has evolved quite a bit over the last few years.
Yes.
It's funny, I had a conversation this morning with someone in our industry, and he was expressing how people don't always adapt well to change.
Yeah.
What I've seen with Evernote is the changes have just been incredible as to the ease of operation and making it more customer friendly and more user friendly. So I'm curious about what we talked about the sharing. What other new features do you see coming up with Evernote? And can we talk a little bit about AI? I'm currently having a love affair with AI.
Absolutely.
And what it can do for me. So I want to hear about how I should be using that within my Evernote account.
Well, to your point, Evernote's done a really good job of evolving the features intuitively, right? They've freshened up the interface and such, which to us feels very familiar. It's just kind of lighter and brighter and done some UI, but nothing's out of place or in a different spot. Right. behind the scenes, they've like rewritten the code. And that has enabled this level of development that at the time we're recording this is 75 new features in a single year. So it's like,
That's a lot.
yeah. And for some people, that's overwhelming. And I get it because my full-time job is to teach people how to best use Evernote. And it's a lot for me to keep up with. But the reality is they are just simply making things more intuitive, making it easier. And for example, like a lot of things that we're used to in other tools are now in Evernote, / commands, things that allow you to type and not take your hands off the keyboard to insert elements. The ability to have collapsible sections. This has been transformative for people in the note editor. We are having longer notes. We can have, headers, and we can collapse and toggle open and close the different information there. It really helps to bring focus to to what you're working on, right? So, really useful things in regards to that. We're seeing a lot of AI. Well, actually, let me talk about AI. So Evernote sold 2 years ago to a new company, and the company is an AI focused development company.
I don't think I ever realized that.
Yes. So it's a company, it's a very respected and hot development firm, app developer called Bending Spoons. And they are an AI focused development company. So everything about them, even 2 years ago, before AI was the norm, they were an AI development company. Now, having said that, a lot of people have privacy concerns with AI, and Bending Spoons has been very thoughtful about how they deploy AI in Evernote, making it, number one, completely optional and not changing the underlying experience. So you can still have all the features and success with Evernote that we had before AI, but they had been thoughtfully deploying AI in the app. And it's in 3 ways currently. We have AI transcription, which is, in my opinion, the best of the AI features. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. You have AI edit, which is much like ChatGPT. A lot of people are comfortable with that. Help me summarize my text, help me typos, that kind of stuff. And they have AI powered search, which is now we have 2 ways to search. We have all that standard search, and nothing about that has changed. But if you want to ask AI a specific question for that's hidden, that answers in your account, it can dish that out to you. They have AI powered search. So those are the 3 features that we have as of the time of this recording, with clearly more to come. I just interviewed the head of product at a conference 2 weeks ago in California. And I asked him about AI, and we had a lot of discussion about AI, and certainly their brains are rolling around that. Yeah. People become more interested with AI, and they want to give users the opportunity to really engage with it. He even tweeted last week, this is something we're considering. So this is like a public thing they've talked about. It's not on the roadmap, but I heard him talk about this. They want to. How cool would it be to be able to have like a ChatGPT conversation with the notes and content that's in a specific client notebook of yours?
Oh, wow.
Right. So kind of like you ask it a question, it gives you an answer, you ask it another. So you're engaging with your own data. These are the types of things they're thinking about, and that they're certainly capable of deploying. But again, everything in AI in Evernote is an opt-in optional feature. So for those that are not comfortable with it, you don't have to engage with it or use it. And they are taking privacy and trust of the Evernote user very seriously. Nothing about their terms of service has changed, which is a key reason I chose Evernote in the first place. And it's only gotten better in terms of the privacy and security features that they are adding to that. I feel very good about it. And believe me, you said it at the beginning, I don't work for Evernote, but all my eggs are in the basket. So I'm keeping an eye on what's going on. Right. And security and privacy was very, very important when I chose Evernote, and to my comfort level, they're maintaining that.
Okay. All right. So we talked a little bit about, getting started on platforms like this. What do you see as some of the biggest challenges that people face when they're managing digital information? And I am an out of sight, out of mind person. I recently was cleaning my workroom and realized I have stuff I don't even remember that I have, because Evernote can't search for it for me until I create an inventory sheet in Evernote, which I need to do. But how does Evernote help people solve that digital, because that can be just as messy and just as overwhelming as physical things in our space.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about a couple of the concepts already, and then I'll add another to it. But, picking and sticking and once you stick, getting educated on the opportunities with the platform.
Mm-hmm.
People don't take the time to do it, and they get out of sorts because of it. It fuels that. So, education's the way out is my take on it. You have to find the right teacher for you, but there's plenty of free resources out there. And then, there's filtered groups like mine that give you, a more filtered approach. The other thing is centralization. Evernote offers you the ability to centralize pretty much any type of data, whether it be a web page, an email, a file, or notes, an image, any of it. So I think that's really important. But what I find is that people who don't feel that things are organized or feel digitally overwhelmed, and by the way, my definition of organization is something, can you find something when you're looking for it?
Right.
Okay. That's my definition of organization. So Evernote does that because of its search capabilities and this OCR indexing of everything. But what I find most people are missing is the habit of setting themselves up for search success.
Yes.
So I talk about this a lot. So Evernote is going to do a great job of indexing that PDF that you put into Evernote. But if you leave the note title as untitled when you add it to your Evernote account,
not helpful.
It doesn't add any context to what it is. And you're not going to think to search for my untitled PDF. Okay?
Correct.
So the habit, what I call is a title and file habit. Get in the habit of titling and filing. You capture things to Evernote, and I think users, actually, I see users who effectively use Evernote and consider it organized have this habit for 5 to 10 minutes on average a day. They are titling and filing what they capture to Evernote. So everything comes into a default notebook, and they're reviewing what is it, and they're giving it a descriptive title, and they're putting it in a notebook. And there's ways to do that without ever taking your hands off the keyboard. Okay.
Those I have not learned yet, I have to admit. But it's like the David Allen book, Getting Things Done. Exactly. It's that don't handle it 7 or 8 times. And those 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the day, you can throw an untitled note into. I remember in one of your classes, someone mentioned, I'm looking for it on my phone. It's an app called Brain Toss.
Yes.
And you can do a voicemail. I only use it for voicemail because sometimes if I'm out walking, when I used to run, I would have a thought and I would hit Brain Toss. I would put the note in there and I would send it to Evernote, and it would go directly into my inbox. Well, if I clean out my inbox and give that a title that's readable, or if it's a task or something I wanted to remember, at the end of every day, I still have a note that a little reminder that I follow. It's in Evernote. It says set up 1 Pomodoro a day and just it's like cleaning off your desk at the end of the day, or for those of us who are fabricating, cleaning up your workspace at the end of the day and get everything where it belongs. At the end of the day.
And people that habitually do that have organized accounts.
Yes.
I would like to point out too, I didn't come back to this, but you triggered it. When you're taking that audio note and you're throwing it in your inbox, you can now hit a single button that says transcribe. This is AI transcription, and Evernote transcribing that audio for you so that all of that text becomes editable and indexable and searchable in Evernote. Okay. They also have the ability for you to transcribe the image, the text and handwriting that appears in images.
That to me is phenomenal. Fascinating. That is incredible. And I can remember years ago, someone using like a wine bottle label, photograph of a wine bottle, and thinking it was cool. But it's just come so much further than that, like that it will recognize handwriting.
I heard a great use case from one of my Academy members just this week. She says, I just have to share this. She's like, I love to cook. She's like, but I hate using the cookbook recipe in the kitchen. It gets dirty. I have, it gets torn. The page gets bent. I get grease on it. She's like, I took a photo of it. And she says, and the font's too small. So, I took a photo of it, put it in Evernote, hit the transcribe button. It extracted out all of the ingredients. I can make the font any size I want. I can write notes around it, and I can share it now with other people.
Yes.
And I thought, what a simple little brilliant use case for this AI transcribe function. It's so cool. And by the way, the word on the street, I mean, I don't use a lot of AI tools. I'm using what's in Evernote, but it's my hub. So that's where I'm playing with it. It's phenomenal. It works in like the transcribe audio works in like 15 languages. The transcribe picture works in 50 languages. And
I can't wait to try it.
It's really, really cool. And people are finding it so accurate. Like the reviews on it are really, really good. So they've done a nice job, which it doesn't surprise me given the development and perspective of the parent company, but it's exciting. And people are finding really, see, I talk about this all the time in the academy too. Micro efficiencies. Have you heard me talk about this before? Yes. It's like people that take the time to learn these things aren't like taking massive chunks at a time out of their thing. They're making things microly more efficient a lot. So title and file. I teach people how they can do that with a key command, and you save a second or 5 seconds per time you file something. If you capture a lot, that adds up a lot. And over time, it makes a difference, right? So it's like, how can we be speedier doing the things that support good organization and set you up for search success in the future? Using the tool of Evernote. And those are the types of things that I think make a difference in our productivity.
And how much time did you say workers spend looking for things?
Like 20% of our workday.
That's it. So the incremental differences can be a huge time saver for us.
Yeah.
I can't dig into that.
So one of the reasons that I get so excited about Evernote is because even if you start to build those habits, they certainly pay off in the end. Like, it's very rare now that after 14 years, like I have 32,000 notes in my account. Right. Oh, wow. And I can still find what I'm looking for because even if it was years and years and years ago. So these kinds of things really do stand the test of time. They're habits that really pay off and help you have this second brain that you can rely on for years and years to come.
Right. I remember scanning something early on and putting it in Evernote. You and I were talking, every warranty, every instruction book. I used to have filing cabinets full of those things. Now they're all in Evernote and I can find them. And it's interesting because my husband and I were laughing about something that we were looking for. He says, have we ever looked for any of these things before? Like, how much space did this stuff take up? And we never used it. Once in a while, yes, you do need the warranty information or the instructions, but just being able to find something quickly. And I had scanned something and I was searching for something else and it came up because it was one of the words on the front page of that particular document. And I thought, it really got me started thinking, Stacey, about the people in my life who I know who are getting older, and I'll raise my hand here, but like that I forget where things are or that we have so much stuff. And I actually started an Evernote file of where things are so that if I'm going to put something in a place that isn't necessarily its space, but I have a reason for putting it there. I have a lockbox.
It's a great.
Well, because there were things like, well, where did we put that? Wait, I can look it up. I have a lockbox, fireproof lockbox, and it's got a few documents in it. It's got a few things in it. Nothing that's monumental worth, but to us. And I have a ring that was my mother's. And I don't wear it frequently, so I keep it in that lockbox because if we ever had a fire or anything, I'd be devastated to lose it. And I wanted to make sure I had it with all the things for my daughter's wedding so that I was wearing my mom's ring on her wedding day. And I couldn't find it. And I had not put in the where is it file where I was keeping that. And I don't know why I didn't go to the lockbox. I don't have a lot of jewelry, so I don't have a lot of places for it, but I was pulling drawers out and then I went into the lockbox for something else and I look and I went, that's going to be the ring, isn't it? And it was, and I found it well before the wedding, but I said to myself, I need to go back to using that notebook where am I putting things in my house, or or who did I lend something to? I have a set of pearls that my daughter wore for her wedding. I have no idea who they belong to. They're not mine. So I need a separate note for who did I borrow things from. I'm seeing this as an aid as I get older more than anything else.
Oh, you're not alone in that. We're all feeling it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's, having a second brain's good in that case.
Yes, it is. So I'm curious about how you balance digital note taking with other tools or methods. Are you only digital? Are you paperless?
Oh gosh, no, I love paper. I love it.
I love that answer.
I am a paper fanatic. I use paper all the time. I carry a moleskin notebook with me all the time. I still take a lot of handwritten notes. What I do differently than other people is I'm what I call practically paperless.
Okay, I like that.
So I actually am in the habit of digitizing 100% of the paper I come in contact with.
Okay.
So I still get paper. I still get things mailed to me. I still have receipts that I want to scan. I have notes that I take. So the difference between me is and most people is I use those things, but I digitize everything in Evernote because I know Evernote's going to scan and index it and allow me to find it. And I can take notes around it. And now with AI transcription, I can extract it. It's so cool. So it's all these great things. But that is my take. And I think, a lot of science and research is showing that handwriting is better for retention. So being able to, handwrite that. And sometimes a computer is just not appropriate or a tablet's not appropriate. So Evernote makes it simple to digitize. There's a camera built into the app on your phone. And for most people, that's all it takes. I have a desktop scanner that sits right here and scans right into Evernote. So it's, that's more my perspective. But I think, it supports what I do is I have a mindset of centralizing. So that extends to paper.
Yeah, it's not eliminating the paper, it's keeping everything in one place.
Yes.
Okay.
So I look at it in David Allen and GTD terms. Evernote's my ultimate inbox.
Okay.
And my paper inbox, which I have sitting right here next to me and in arm's reach, is just one more place that I have to get into my ultimate inbox.
Right. And let's face it, I have a tickler file, an organized, a woman who I was in a group with taught us this. It's labeled by month. And every month if not bills so much, but like if I buy a card ahead of time for somebody that I'm going to mail, or it's an object of some kind. And then each month I go through it and it goes to the back and I just keep using the same ones over and over again. But there are still objects and paper that come into our lives that we need to deal with, but we can digitize them and keep them organized in Evernote. Okay. So if someone is going to get started or improve Evernote, what's their first step? And what we've talked about the Academy, what does that do for people?
Well, the first step I'd start even before that is they should sign up for my free newsletter because once a week I'm sending tips on how to better use Evernote.
Right? How I keep up with things.
So, that's like an easy, free way to be educated on the newest things that Evernote's offering and get some use cases and ideas, because I know that by watching me work, which is one of the things that the Academy offers, is the ability for me to go into Evernote Live and show you how to navigate around people. I mean, people that embrace this tend to be smart people, and they just see, they can adapt what they see to their own workflows. So it's like I focus on that a lot inside the Academy is, coming in and paying to use it, paying to be part of the Academy makes you more committed to learning it. And you get in with a filtered group of other Evernote enthusiasts that are actively using this tool. And we all brainstorm and share workflow ideas and talk in the discussion forum and have live events and trainings and keep up with what's new. So it's lots of fun because I'm, as we started, an Evernote geek and nerd and excited about it. So it's kind of fun for me. But the other thing is, they have to consider which plan they're on. Like, you shouldn't become an Academy member unless you're a paying member of Evernote. for example. So subscribing to Evernote is an important step to unlocking what you can do with it. For example, you can't create more than one notebook on the free plan. And you heard me say earlier that to really use Evernote, you should organize in a notebook-based approach. So you can only use it on one device on the free plan. Like, okay, so if I'm capturing on my phone, but I can't organize at my computer, that's problematic. So if you're serious about it, you want to pay, you can pay for 1 month or 2 months and cancel and convert to an annual plan. So those are some of the things, but I say keep it simple. I tell people who are just getting involved, find a single use case that's meaningful to you. Okay. And Seal, you're probably perfect to describe one that would work for your audience, right? Is like, maybe it's about, I'm going to take client notes and I'm going to always make my client notes put in Evernote. And I'm going to tie that to my calendar, explore that connection, right? And just use it for that. And then another one that might really appeal is like, okay, there's probably a lot of inspiration that people get in your space, visual inspiration from websites and things of that nature. Are you centralizing and capturing that to Evernote instead of a bookmark in a web page, right? You can add it to Evernote and you can start taking notes about it or create notes about what clients this might be good for. Those kinds of things can really matter, because if you have a use case that's meaningful to you, you'll go back to Evernote, you'll use it, and you'll start to unlock the power and then expand from there. So that's one of my top tips.
I think the habit of using it just opens up that much more that it can do. And as you said, the more comfortable you become using it, then you start to see how many different ways you can use it. So I have a couple questions to wrap up that I would love to know what you do extremely well.
Well, Evernote. I'd say I know more about Evernote than a lot of the development team.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
I was so pleased when Federico, who develops the product, sat in on my presentation. I did 2 presentations at this conference, and he went, "Oh, I learned something." I'm like, "Oh, how cool!" But beyond that, the real truth of the matter is my core skill is I'm a natural organizer. And what I help people do is organize their digital lives. It happens that Evernote's the tool. And I happen to be an expert in Evernote too. But if Evernote went away, which there's no indication it's going to, but if Evernote went away, I would help people still digitally organize their lives. That's what I do. I'm natural at it. My mom wrote in my baby book that like at age 4, I took delight out of like putting the blocks back into the box in different configurations. It's just like how I am. I'm like,
it's just who you are.
So I'd say that's my core skill. And that's very much in alignment with what I teach and do for a living, which is probably, again, why I have this enthusiasm for it.
I think the other part too, Stacey, and I've seen this in some of the live group gatherings, you have a way of listening to people's questions and being able to like process as they're speaking and offering suggestions and solutions. I'm one of those people that needs to process and then come back later with ideas. And literally, like you'll ask a question, I could just like watch your brain going, well, have you considered doing this? And I'll be like, that would have never crossed my mind. Maybe an hour from now that would cross my mind, but not in the process of it. So it's obvious it's something that you're good at and it comes naturally to you. And I think that's fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much.
What are you not so good at?
Oh, gosh.
Only one thing.
Well, let's start the list. I think I'm a pretty poor delegator. I have been self-employed for a long time and I like to do it all myself.
Yes. And I think this is a problem for some of us.
I actually think Evernote's a big crutch in this for me too. I don't think Evernote, certainly I could delegate and I have shared notebooks with my VA and things of that nature, but I can do so much because Evernote supports my ability to do so many divergent things. It's kind of problematic, but I think I could, not work as much if I would learn how to delegate more.
Yeah, I think that's an entrepreneur problem for many of us.
Yeah.
Stacey, what about you would surprise people?
Well, I don't think it's surprising that I consider Evernote my second brain. I think people would be surprised that I don't consider myself to have a great memory. I mean, I think people think that I'm like smart and can help people, which I think is true. I can help people. I like to answer their questions and give them new ideas, but I don't think I have a great memory. I really rely on Evernote to support that, but I do embrace like David Allen was a huge influence on my life. And his quote that your brain is for having ideas, not holding them. And
Game changer for me. Yeah.
And then knowing that I had Evernote to hold my ideas and trusting Evernote has transformed my life and my stress. Like he also has a saying, like, you don't have to think about something twice unless you want to. And like, I take that to heart.
Yes.
I put that in Evernote. That's a cue to me. So like, but I know how to find it. So people think I've got this great memory and I don't think I do.
Okay. It's interesting that Elke, who I mentioned and who my listeners know well, one of the ways that she used Evernote in the beginning was when she created a client file, is she would have notes about the client. And so when she went back and she'd say, oh, how's your daughter? Did she finish school? Or how about your dog? He was sick the last time I was here. And people would be like, how did you remember that stuff? She didn't.
That's right.
I can't even remember my name, and we've been friends for 20 years. Sometimes she's like, honey, and I'm like, it's Seal, Elke. But when she is going to a client or she's working with the designer, she has all the information at her fingertips and can go through it quickly and find it. And you mentioned the note links, and that was a game changer for me, because even in a notebook, if I wanted to keep a scan of an invoice or a scan of a check, I could still link to all of them in one document so that I knew, did the check come in? Did I get paid? All of that. And it just has made my life so much easier. And it was a disappointment to me that I didn't have time to teach it anymore, because I thought it was such a great tool. And that's why I'm so happy to share your resources with people, because you don't have to be a fabricator or in the window treatment business to understand how we need to organize things. So I know that you are on Instagram. I'm going to put a link to your Instagram account as well as your website in the show notes. One last question. I don't think I sent this to you. What is one piece of advice that you would give to the business owners who are listening to this podcast?
Oh, God. Being a business owner is a tough gig.
Yeah.
I think you have to listen to your gut and let yourself pivot to always be working to align your passion and your talents with how you're making money. And I think that's the key to moving forward.
Oh, that's a good one.
And always be learning. And for me, it's about always learning. I mean, I'm always constantly learning. And it's another reason I love Evernote, because I can learn about all kinds of things or pick up a project right now and take some notes about it and then archive it and come back to it later, always be learning. But I think the reason that I have been able to stay self-employed for 14 years is because there's an alignment with what I like to do. Like I can plug away. I can plug away at it because it's rewarding for me to help people have the experience that these tools and productivity have brought to me. So I find value in that, and I think others could too.
I absolutely agree with you. And Stacey, it's always a pleasure for me because you are so enthusiastic about this. And I always feel like I learn something from you every time I'm in your company. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Stacey today. I have to admit that I have always been a little bit of an Evernote geek, and it's been really fun for me to hang out with her and see someone else as excited about organizing my information as she is. I met Stacey quite a while ago, not in person. We've only ever met on Zoom. I found her website and learned so much more about how I wanted to use Evernote through her. And she breaks down things in a way that made it really easy for me to understand how I should best be using Evernote, and as well as features I didn't need to be bothered with. We talked about a couple things like that today, like tags. Do you want to use them or not use them? You don't have to use every feature that's available, but are you using the ones that are best for your productivity? I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Stacey today. And if you would like to learn more about her, there's a link to her newsletter. It's harmonenterprises.com/newsletter, but the link will be in the show notes. There will also be another link in the show notes. It is an affiliate link to subscribe to Evernote that would get new subscribers 15% off the annual personal plan. That's Stacey's affiliate link. And as I've said before, a bit of a Evernote geek here. She's a great person to learn from, and 15% off is a great way to get started on Evernote if you're interested. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.